Since 2019, we've been helping and encouraging couples prepare for their weddings and capture those sacred moments through photo and video. We began this podcast to continue serving you, whether you've already said I do or that day is still to come.
Each week, we are here to strengthen Christian marriages, to fill Christian homes, to restore a Christian nation. We're glad you're here. Okay, welcome to Sacred Story Collective as we continue our debatably premarital series, because you should know this is for anyone who plans to be married, is preparing to be married, or is currently married. And today we get to talk about the money.
Yes. I think when we were talking about what topics we wanted to cover in premarital season, I don't know about you, but I was thinking, like, what did we talk about in premarital counseling? And what are things that, like, you shouldn't get married before you discuss these things? But yeah, like you said, this is still important if you are single thinking towards the future, or you're married already and need to revisit the basics, or maybe you never visited it in the first place.
Yeah, truly. Yes and amen. Well, if that's the case, then we're happy to help and happy you're here. Today, as an outline, we're going to look at, it kind of goes along with how I introduced this, I suppose, because we're going through the costs leading up to the wedding day, and some honeymoon related, and then into actual life expenses, necessary investments. So your life insurance, how you should think about that, the living situation you're entering into, and setting up spending habits with a new spouse, clear expectations, guidelines, budgeting. And then we mentioned this last week on should I borrow money from my parents, talk about that a bit, and just general living together money things. So here it goes. First, though, I need to remind you guys, I keep remembering things as we leave previous episodes and go on to the next week. So I had this thought that I don't know how many specific boundaries we discussed last week's episode. Yeah. It won't be last week. This is the first episode post baby announcement.
I was wondering, I was going to ask you about that. If that's not the time.
Yeah, we needed to be careful.
Yeah.
Not to announce again.
Not careful.
It's official.
Pregnant.
Yeah.
And very tired.
We were not careful. We were very intentional, if you know what I mean. And it worked eventually.
We were so careful to get pregnant.
That's a way to say it.
Yeah.
Either way, there's a little baby in there.
Yeah, I feel like so many of these episodes we've recorded so far this year, I've been fighting hard my need for a nap in every episode, and I probably look like it. So now I'm glad for people to know that I'm pregnant, and that hopefully I don't look like not interested. I'm just always so sleepy.
You look pretty alert today, and you got your cool Pac-Man head covering. Cherries always make me think of Pac-Man.
Okay.
Gotta collect them.
Oh my gosh. Chomp. Unfortunately, I would love to be taking a nap right now, but I'm happy to be here with you. Absolutely.
That means that the rest of the episodes of this year, probably, because we're going to be getting them out ahead of
Lord
the
willing.
baby coming out, are going to have all three of us as hosts.
Yep.
So that's extra special.
Yep.
Get to tell a little baby one day all about it.
Yep.
Now, rewinding to what I wanted to include about the boundaries episode, so now 2 weeks back, is that I had considered since then that I had a conversation, you were there, a few months ago with my parents, and I was considering how the differences between the family of origin and significant differences in decision making on some fronts that we are headed towards, especially since having Lucy Ray. So just parenting decisions,
do stuff different.
Discussions about, there's just a simple one is clarity on food dyes, that kind of thing, food, and then there's discussions about schooling, homeschooling. I had a great experience in the government school system growing up, but those kind of things where my parents are confused to a degree, and we have these conversations, and I started considering there might be an assumption, and then, that multiplied by there's a definitely leaning towards conflict avoidance, family normalcy, growing up, peacemakers.
Yeah.
That's it. So with those things in consideration, I wanted to make sure there wasn't assumptions that because things were different than the way I grew up, that the assumption could be it has to be coming from my wife's side. Right. So my parents could be thinking, oh, Taylor Ray is making Josh do all these things. So long story short, I said, I need to remind you guys, if you think anything strange is being done by our family, I have the final say as head of household. I am responsible for the outcomes and the actions, the decisions. Well, let me stop there for a second. I'll expand on it. But yeah, it stops at me. My wife is not making those final decisions for our family. So I want to make sure no blame is going to her. And I think this might be something that is a conversation that should be more common to have.
Yeah, I loved hearing you say that, because it wasn't that we were in the middle of conflict with your parents, so that your parents were saying anything like bad to us or about us that we knew about or anything like that. It was just like, hey, in case there ever is something, let me communicate that now. So it was awesome communication, and it makes me feel very protected. I've heard lots of stories of wives talking about their mother-in-laws who are not like my mother-in-law, but, just like the monster-in-laws who, blame everything on the daughter-in-law being different, just how you described, and husbands who don't stand up for their wives or don't take responsibility. And so,
yes,
like Josh isn't saying in that moment, Taylor doesn't have a say about anything in our family, but it's that the things that she suggests or the things that I bring up, either way, I have the final say about that.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was going to come back to expand on is Taylor Ray and I, we've had episodes about this. We discuss, I come to her and expect her wisdom and input on nearly everything, everything of significant relevance. And then the final stamp, that's what I wanted to give to clearly articulate to them, was the final stamp of approval has to come from me, even if the idea was fully from my wife. And I was like, you know what, we should do that with our children. It's still me signing off as I will take responsibility as this being the best direction for our family. So that's what I want to clearly communicate, and I think that's a worthy thing to consider for many people, I'm sure. Now moving on to today's episode. You ready? Okay, on to today's. The first thing I wanted to remind people, especially, well, this also, I guess, applies across the board, but especially in the preparation process, this could apply, I think, most drastically to someone who is not even in the wedding planning process, but you'll understand when I explain. It goes on into marriage. Okay. The mindset you need to be very aware of, or beware of, because it can be detrimental, it's very likely to be detrimental, is this. Once I accomplish blank, then we will, or then I will blank. Such as, what's relevant most to this conversation would be, once I get the job, buy the house, fill the savings account to X number, once I pay off all my loans, once I finish this round of schooling, once I get that degree.
Once I get to baby step number 4, Dave Ramsey.
Davey, get to us. Then we will get married. Then we will have kids. Then we will start giving to the church. These things that are of utmost importance and get overshadowed by, I like the word baby steps now, I'll take that from the Ramsey school, by these other things that can coexist, that could be taking place at the same time. So careful staying away from the greatest gifts of God. Weird ducky sound?
Yeah, it was her puzzle. Because the light changed, and it's like affected by light. It makes noises.
That was a surprise.
I don't know if anybody else could hear that, but what the?
Okay, continuing. So yeah, just avoiding repeat what I just said. I think the greatest gifts of God in marriage and what it represents and what you get to enjoy in it, and the children, the blessings that come with that.
Yeah, and all those things are self-focused, like buying a house and these other things. Not that they're bad things, but they're about like your comfortability, your achievements, and they can be sourced in pride. When these other things, getting married, having children, giving to the church, those 3 examples you gave are all about service to others, or they should be. And so, yeah, it needs to.
That's a good addition. Down. Yeah. So any of those things, like you said, these are worthy goals. Absolutely. Just don't let them take top priority. Don't avoid them. You don't want to go wild on the loans, not be saving any money, not be putting money away. You don't want to stop in the middle of pursuit of a degree, probably just for no reason, all these things. Sure. But don't delay greater things for the sake of something. But if you're
in the middle of getting your college degree, ladies, and you're about to marry a man who is fully equipped to provide income for your family so you can stay home and have babies, you don't have to finish your degree. Just, I know that's kind of crazy. Nobody else will tell you that, probably, but...
You been there?
Well, I had one semester left,
The
so
one semester left was a
might as well have finished
discussion.
it. But
Yeah.
I feel so silly. It was like $6,000 more that we could have kept, and I literally never needed it.
Never, yeah, unlikely to ever use your degree as an interesting facet of that. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's a individual basis.
But
kinda
if you guys want my
consideration.
street cred, I have a bachelor's degree in the Bachelor's of Science in Psychology. So
The psychology.
you're welcome.
Well done, my love.
Totally worth it.
So anyway, each person is more prone to, but it's just so common to have a conversation with someone, particularly delaying getting married for the sake of a specific job or certain amount of money, and delaying having children for a house, particularly, I think is the most common one.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why. Let the children enjoy the experience with you, and adjust your spending to the blessings, being the spouse and the children,
Yeah.
instead of adjusting your timeline to the spouse and children.
And adjust your expectations and adjust where you're getting your inspiration and influence from. So intentionally go and follow accounts of these really sweet moms who homeschool 4 kids in their 1,100 square foot home. And that'll make you feel content. And also, I just love
Wise.
those. Yeah. It's
And
so good.
continually go to the scriptures, because they're
Much better than following people
no-
on Instagram.
at no point in God's holy word are you going to find keep on waiting for those children.
Right.
So
Yeah.
consider, and then we know there's outlier situations. We did an episode about the children at length specifically, and we also have another one from a more of a preparing perspective coming up soon. So we'll come back to that some more. Continuing on now. So with that in mind, going into deciding wedding costs. We talked about this some last week or 2 weeks ago, but the wedding costs, how much is it going to be influenced by what your parents are giving? You might have to make adjustments for that. How much are you investing yourself? And then how much do you have to invest? It needs to just be wise decision making, but there's such a broad scale. There's not really clear guidelines to give on this, because some families are giving much more and have much more available, and some people have much higher paying jobs, and there's more to input in that single day. Just keep in mind that it is one day compared to the rest of your life that you're committing to. So it is not a wise decision, certainly, to go into debt for the sake of that one day's celebration.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the main priorities, though, if you are having your wedding day, the highest expense most likely is going to be a venue.
Yeah.
So we can kind of go through the highest priority items, but I want you to you're used to giving this sales pitch.
Sure.
So talking about the mindset going into prioritization for your wedding day.
Yeah. Well, one thing, I don't know if this is what you were thinking, but one thing I love to ask couples, being wedding vendors ourselves, we get on a lot of, you could call them sales calls, but they're like discovery calls, initial consult calls, just to meet face to face and see if we vibe together, and to share with them what we charge and what it's like to work with us. So we get on these calls, and one question I love to ask couples is, if you could only spend money on 3 things for your wedding day, what would you choose? If everything else you had to either forego altogether or DIY or just get like the cheapest option, like it's hardly anything, nothing to brag about, but 3 things you could invest in, what would you choose? And I think that is the most insightful question. And it helps them to recognize what they really think is important. So not all the time, surprisingly to me, but most of the time they will say photo and video is for sure our top. And they understand what we understand is that this is the only thing besides your spouse that you'll take with you after your wedding day. And so photos and video are so important because, yes, it only is one day. And yes, it goes by unbelievably fast. Like, you will not understand how fast that day goes until you experience it yourself. And so having photos and video is so precious because it's not just about you two there, but about your family members and your friends who are there and surrounding you and praying over you and encouraging you and celebrating with you. And they're there to witness that covenant and hold you to that. And so having that documented well in a way that makes you feel supported and cared for by your vendors who are there for you, like it's so important. So we would recommend investing in that.
I'm sold.
You know where to find us.
I can hear it. The sales desk phone is ringing off the hook.
Oh,
over
yeah.
there.
Well, Lord willing, that would be a blessing to us.
Amen.
Let's actually mention that for 10 seconds right now. Even though I am pregnant, we are still taking weddings. I will take a maternity leave at the last 3 months of the year. but we do have an associate team. So we're figuring out how much we can take on during that time because I have photographers who work for me. And then Josh will still be taking video.
Yeah.
And then we'll be back at it semi-normal in 2027. So
pay for our children to get more snacks.
Can I have a snack?
We'll be so thankful.
Yes.
Lucy Ray,
so
more food.
She's so sweet. So photo and video is absolutely priceless. But there's other things that are important, and it's okay to have more than one really important thing. It's okay for things that might feel silly to others to be important to you. So, for example, most people will say their top things are photo and video, DJ because they care about the experience for their guests, and then along that line, some people will say food because of, again, the guest experience. Some people will say venue because that's where the entire wedding takes place. I heard someone once say wedding dress is something that they would invest in.
Yeah.
And that surprised me. But then the way they explained it made sense because it's like your wedding dress is in every single photo. And so
truly.
That makes sense.
And some people can kind of consider it an heirloom sort of thing.
Yeah.
I want to pass it down. I don't know how often that happens, but we've seen quite a few weddings where at least the bride wears her mom or grandma's wedding dress altered to use at some point for some kind of pictures
so sweet.
or
even the
reception.
whole day. It's beautiful. So that's a good perspective. I will say I don't think that you need to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on a wedding dress to have one that makes you feel beautiful. I've seen brides get a very clearly very expensive wedding dress, but they're not even physically comfortable in it, and like that shows in the photos more than how expensive your dress is. You know what I mean? So getting a dress that you feel comfortable and beautiful in, no matter the price tag, and I'm talking hopefully on the lower end because I'm all about budgeting and being frugal, that matters so much more. So anyways, I don't want to go on too long, but what can you actually take with you from your wedding day? Photos and video and your spouse. And so
your spouse being what you take with you, I think is basically the premise of this whole season. Is that you're preparing for that day to enter into the covenant, and then you go forward with your spouse. So it's very sweet to have the photos and video to look back on. The only other things you can really take is if you dry your flowers or you use fake flowers.
True. We do that. My flowers are hanging in our window over there in a disco ball.
You can stick your wedding dress in the closet and let cockroaches meet their doom in there. We've seen that happen.
It's now in a box, so that shouldn't happen again. It was really sad. I was gonna say something else. Oh yeah, like your cake. If you have extra money, if your parents, own a lot of storage units and they have a lot of money, that's one of our bride's situation. And her wedding was beautiful. Then, go crazy and get the beautiful artisan cake. That's awesome. But if your budget is tight, get off Instagram and TikTok for a minute and touch grass and just realize what's important. And it's your spouse and having these memories for the rest of your life.
Oh, we didn't even mention I guess we talked about this somewhat in the last episode, but having the small wedding that's intimate and then a bigger reception where it's less fancy and investment, so much of an investment, but just finding somewhere, someone that has enough property and is willing to share it for a night, and just kind of having even a potluck, but you can make a lot of food. Like our example, what we did for our reception party in Oregon was to do a big pancake breakfast for dinner, and it was fantastic. So we just had everybody there. We did a mini repeat of the vows. 1 week later, vow renewal, and then everybody so people that weren't able to go to the ceremony got to see that, and then we had some dancing and just ate and had
your
community.
dances were fire. And honestly, the dancing was more fun at our second reception than our first one, because first one we were just exhausted and there was all the speeches and it was time crunch.
That's
and
true.
At the reception it was just
felt speedy
party all night, and you were doing this move with the bowl and you threw it in the air and caught it, and that was hot. I love that.
Practice. That was the peak of my hip undulations. Maybe not.
Oh my god.
We better keep going.
Okay. Anyways, I wanted to say one last thing about the photo and video, especially video. Recently, I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before, but so I was a doula for my friends, and they sent me their birth plan because we were preparing for her to give birth.
Yeah, this is good.
And so she had on there a list of things to do when she was in early labor. Go back to sleep, have a snack, take a shower, just stay calm. and relaxed as best she can. And so she had a couple things on there. And one of the things that she had on her list was to watch their wedding film, which you made.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought that was so beautiful. And just revisiting your wedding film on anniversaries and when you're in labor with your baby and on hard days, like, that is so precious. And you're not going to get that in your wedding favors, you know? So yeah, definitely invest in your photo and video.
I agree.
This is an ad for
it's feeling like
Sacred Story Collective Photo and Film.
It's feeling as though we did a whole episode as an advertisement, and now we're going to episode 2, but we'll just keep going. We can do this. Okay, so maybe you should. Oh, I haven't even mentioned this. I was going to go as if you knew what I was headed for, but we have an idea of a delayed honeymoon. I think we mentioned previously that we did this, so we had a very budget-friendly honeymoon immediately, and then our 3rd anniversary we went to Hawaii.
Yeah.
And did the big thing, fought the waves.
So fun.
That was our favorite thing in Hawaii, was going to the spots
like
on the beach where you just get smashed. Just pitted, so pitted.
Get so pitted. So, but yeah, for baby moon we can go to Hawaii and not get smashed by waves as much, but take me there.
Maybe
We'll go to Canyon Lake and sit by the lake.
Beautiful.
With some pool noodles.
I love that, honey. I'll be there with you.
Maybe we'll go to the pool in our backyard
so
for our baby moon. Please book weddings so he can take me on a baby moon. Thanks so much.
Consider the money you could save in making an adjustment like this, saving up for a dream trip, something different.
Yeah, I would just still say, definitely recommend. You just, especially if you had to participate in paying for your own wedding, if your parents weren't able to assist or anything, and you need to pay for a honeymoon, and like, again, don't go into debt to go on a honeymoon. You see all of your friends and they're going to like Thailand and stuff. Don't compare. Don't worry about it. Go when you have the money for it and go wherever is accessible and fun to you guys. So even if that means delaying it 3 years, which was so great and fun, and we weren't like exhausted going into that honeymoon. But we did do, like Josh mentioned, a very budget-friendly mini honeymoon right after our wedding. So very next day, I got on a plane, flew to Oregon, and we stayed on the coast. His grandma has a beach house, and so we stayed in this like the family beach house he went to his whole life. So it wasn't super exciting for him, but it was my first time there. We've stayed there plenty of times with his family
I'd
since.
say it was very exciting for me.
Amen. So we had a great time. We went horseback riding on the coast of Oregon, and we've got ice cream like every single day on boardwalks and stuff. It was so much fun and relaxing, and it didn't put us into debt right away. And so all that to say, if you do a delayed honeymoon, highly recommend, but I would still encourage you to just like take a week off after your wedding, because planning a wedding is exhausting, and you should enjoy a week before having to go back to work and real life and just spend time together, spend time in bed together so much, and set a really awesome precedent for the rest of your marriage. So I think you should still do that, even if it's like a staycation at a hotel that's a few miles from your house. Just do something.
Yeah, truly acknowledging that you've started a whole new family unit. Yeah, there should be a great difference in the day before to the day after your wedding.
Absolutely. Yes. It would be kind of, I mean, I support like going to church every Sunday, but like, I think it's kind of funny. I know people have like gone to church the next day after the wedding, but I don't know. I get out of there. Go somewhere. I go to church somewhere else.
You go to church if you want to go to church.
Yeah, no, I just think it's funny, like, just to go back to regular life, like, nothing has changed, but, like, everything has changed. You should go to church. That's good.
Interesting.
I'm just ranting. We should change to go to the next subject.
Yep. Either you delayed your honeymoon or you didn't. Okay, we're moving on from the wedding. Now, we are major experts on this next subject of life insurance, because Taylor Ray has a life insurance policy about to be signed off in her email, and mine I did last night.
Yes.
I think it was last night. Sometime in the last 36 hours for sure.
Yep.
So officially I can go.
No, thank you.
I'll hang around as long as God will let me. Praise the Lord. But I was putting this off for so long, and honestly, when I was preparing notes for this episode and I was reading through, I haven't even mentioned this yet, but I'm going to read a quote from it, but there's a small book you can look up. You can read the PDF for free, and it's actually helpful. It called How Should I Think About Money by R.C. Sproul, and it's clearly directed by solid theological perspectives, but the majority of it is just very straight up. This is how you should look at investments. This is how inflation works. This is the categories of someone being poor and general wealth management. It's very helpful and straightforward.
And if you need something even simpler, the Tuttle twins have the ABCs of economics, and it's like a 12-page board book
For
that our
toddlers.
2-year-old loves.
That's a great starting place.
I love the page on Federal Reserve, and it's like a big monster.
Yeah.
So funny.
Look out. Those are great. Love that. That was a great investment, speaking of investments. But life insurance, you need to get life insurance quickly, and I don't have the ground to stand on because of my poor action on this front. But I should have done this much sooner. Thankfully, I have not left my wife and child behind to have
children, plural.
Yeah, multiple children now. Have not left them behind to have to deal with all of the difficulty emotionally and financial strain because there's nothing to assist with that. Like, we'd have community and family that would help, but the life insurance, what I really need to say about this is that men are entrusted with provision for their families. So men, you need to take seriously setting up that. And now I can actually speak to this because it's in place. It is such a relief to do. I was thinking about it so often, but I heard a pastor last year say one of the first things you need to do, and I totally agree with this now. It just felt like such a, whoa, why have I never heard this before? The first thing you need to do one of the first things in preparing for marriage is get life insurance set up. Maybe you have something through your work. I'm not sure how common that is, but get itself set up because of this provision. You are agreeing until death do us part, but you don't want to abandon your bride should you be taken from this earth early to deal with a bunch of extra consequences that you could have helped for not that large of an investment. It's $50 a month for me to have a $1 million life insurance policy, and it's $38 for Taylor Ray because the ladies are safer. I don't know, something. Yeah. So it's not that much of
an... doing less dangerous things than men in general.
So they expect... life insurance company expects Taylor Ray to live longer, but my goal is to outlive her. That's the next step of this for husbands is I have to care for myself with the intention of providing for and protecting my family, particularly my bride, until she dies. Because if I outlive her, then I have cared for her till the end, and I have provided protection and provision throughout that whole timeline. So that's the goal that, Lord willing, I will live up to, and also a reason why, ladies, if you are still in the process of this courtship and preparing for marriage, you should be very concerned as to agreeing to go into marriage with a man who smokes, drinks heavily, anything that is of substantial detriment to his physical well-being, because he is already giving up some of that provision that he is about to agree to give to you for a lifetime, and he's eating away from it every time he partakes in those things that are of serious detriment. And so another factor of that can be more easily overcome, but is if you are seriously overweight, something you're just not caring for yourself, you're to be entrusted with provision for your wife and family. So show her first that you can care for yourself. That way you can be trusted with that going to the future. So all those things should be of serious concern and consideration.
Clip it. Deal? That was perfect clip. That was great.
Another one that, because of the finances too, now I'm thinking those were physical, but there's also prone to gambling because you should be considered for the financial provision. So that's another one. Yeah. That's
Lord willing, now that we have life insurance, I'll have less nightmares that you die.
Yeah. Man, I had a crazy dream yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
That I told you this morning, but got some kind of, I know people love hearing other people's dreams. Just had some kind of infection all over me that looked like cranberries. Like there was just fruit growing. It was terrifying. I was very thankful to wake up. Anyway, should keep going. So next would be into your actual living situation. We've addressed some of this in the past, and we'll probably go pretty fast from here on out through the rest of this. But first thing is fighting materialism. I am prone to this. It's difficulty, and we're just bombarded by so much. Like you said, get off of the TikTok and Instagram with preparing for your wedding, because you're going to be encouraged to spend more and more. Yeah. That extends beyond the wedding day.
Another reason why it's good to have a short engagement is you have less time to spend money.
Yeah.
And like be inspired by other people.
We love to say that. Yes, truly. So that goes on it goes on well beyond the marriage. That's just a daily occurrence. You're constantly being told, you can't live without this. Right. I've been living without it up to this point. I think I'll make it another day.
Must have spring necessity. Yeah. And it's like, leggings that you don't need.
Yeah, deal with that. So also that leads to, this is going to be my final point, but that's okay. It fits right here, is if you do purchase a house, one, be wise in take in counsel on how much you can reasonably spend. Do some serious consideration and calculating. Whatever you get cleared for as a loan amount, you need to stay well shy of the high end, because that high end is going to be basically just the probably doable would be the best description of where you're going to be placed at the top end. Like if you get cleared for a $500,000 house and you buy a $500,000 house, that's like the edge of what you were expected to be able to sustain. So how much could you benefit from adjusting your location and having more for your family, not putting that so much of a strain? So take that into consideration. And if you do, you will have many salesmen coming to your door. I'll make this brief, but it's so important. If you did not go looking for something, you do not currently need it. And you can say that verbatim if you want to the salesman. I was not looking for this, so I don't need it right now. Thank you for your time. Always be kind to salesmen. I would hate absolutely to have that job and be trying to go door to door.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they are treated poorly too often. So be kind, but no, just I wish someone had said this to me directly when we had first purchased our house. Especially in the first year, you have so many people coming to the door. So you can put up a no soliciting sign, and hopefully most of them, that'll take a lot of the difficulty away from this. But if you weren't looking for it, you didn't need it right now. You might consider it afterwards, but don't agree to something right away because they've got the right words to say. And
we've got this sale and it only goes today.
Yes, be prepared to laugh also, because every salesman, it's a 90% thing. Most people probably already know this, but salesmen go, I was at Mary's house on the other side of the cul-de-sac there, and so since we're in the neighborhood, always random name, already in the neighborhood, we'll be here this week. Every company, no matter the product, we're here to fight the bugs. We're here to redo your roof. We're here to clean your windows, replace your windows. All of them are doing or have the same sales pitch. Apparently, they're being printed from the same website. I don't know.
I actually love the videos I've seen of I don't know if they're actual salesman guys, but they make videos impersonating them, and it's like you got two salesman friends who are trying to agree where to go to dinner, and he's like, "Gotcha, and like,
yes.
It is so funny.
Also, there's the. Yeah, so when I'm like, I'm not interested in that right now. Yeah, so you around from 10 to 12 tomorrow, or is the next day better? There's the automatically ignoring what you're saying.
Right.
It's okay. It's understandably frustrating, and but eventually you got to go. Yeah. You got to just go, not right now, and close the door if they keep going in circles.
I want you to like take a class on the salesman language, and I want you to Uno reverse them and like start evangelizing to them with specifically with their exact methods. Gotcha. So what I'm hearing you say is that
you're a sinner. You're a child of wrath, and you need to repent of your sinfulness. Yeah, I can see it in your eyes.
Yeah.
This is what you desire. That's a great move.
Oh my gosh.
All right, we'll work on that. We'll get a template going.
Perfect.
Okay, living below your means, fighting materialism, kindly turning away the salesman, and then addressing spending patterns, setting a clear budget. Budget's so important. Don't do we just spend less than we make. If you've got that level of uncertainty, it is more likely than not to become a problem at some point. So set clear budget. We did 2 whole episodes way back on finances that I think are very helpful, so I'm not going to go any further
Josh's
right now.
Exact breakdown of how he budgets for our family, it is in depth, so you can go find that. It's one of our first episodes.
I love it. And right now, when I next make adjustments and I explain how that's done, I do percentage wise the breakdown of the finances, and it's easy to find. I think it's just finances part 1 and part 2 in the episodes, but I would definitely put more towards investments when I next adjust our budgeting, like more into retirement, because I put very little recently, which is another point to talk about, is retirement. When you're starting early in marriage, if you have a job that it has any kind of matching, this is something we missed out on in the past, but any opportunity to add to your retirement investments sooner than later, is the compounding interest is just crazy to consider. And I looked up earlier that with inflation, adjusted for inflation, it's just over 8% is the average annual return for the S&P 500, just the general, like the broadest investment portfolio over the last 50 years. So you're going to get at least 8%. It's technically like 12% without the inflation, but somewhere in like the 10% range compounding, which becomes just ridiculous numbers in the long run, and then you get to exchange that hard work for time and giving in the long run. Back to Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
So consider that. And Proverbs 13:22, we've talked about this before. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but the sinner's wealth is laid up for the righteous. So we're looking out. I'm so excited to do the eschatology episode, looking at our view of end times. But if we're looking out 1,000 generations, even just here in this proverb specifically, to his children's children, we're looking 2 generations ahead. You're preparing for much more than just yourself. So that needs to be the mindset that we're setting up our future family, because they're more important than me. As soon as I'm having children, I've gone down the ladder and I'm preparing for later generations.
Yeah.
And then the sinner's wealth being laid up for the righteous is just, God is good, works all things together for his glory, for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. And I'll pause. I'm trying to expand more on that right now. We gotta stay on topic.
Yeah.
Then I've talked about this so many times, but I love it. Should I consider sharing housing with other Christians or sharing housing with my parents? We've talked about this some with the parents. Is there going to be significant issues likely? Like you have a difficult relationship already where it would not be beneficial to the new family unit to live with your parents, then consider that. But also, like we said last time, would it be better, are you quickly having children? Lord willing you are. Would it be more practical for you to live with your parents for a time, save money, and avoid having your kids raised by somebody else for a time, having to send them to daycare, then take advantage of that? Sharing housing with other Christians, young married couples. I love this idea.
Yeah.
I know it sounds like a challenge.
Yeah, and it certainly can have relational strife as well, just like living with parents, but it'd be different.
Yes, just the seasonal understanding. If you work nearer to starting your own family and marriage, and then you have just less of a generational gap too.
Yeah,
There's those understandings. So I just would so encourage young Christians to pursue this route if it could be beneficial. Finding someone where you could rent the same place and share it and half the expenses by doing so. And then you also get to learn and grow together if you're intentional about it. So I think there's a lot of benefits there. Consider those things. Really quick, I'm going to read this from... I actually have 2 quotes to read. One's from the R.C. Sproul book, How Should I Think About Money, that I mentioned, and then one from Bringing in the Sheaves, this book by George Grant, which is fantastic. I don't know if we'll someday do a book club on it, but it's replacing government welfare with biblical charity. So just a quick note on avoiding government assistance. I'm going to read R.C. Sproul's line first. He says, Paul gave this mandate to the church. If anyone is not willing to work, let him not eat. 2 Thessalonians 3:10. That seems harsh and severe by contemporary standards, but Paul was simply reiterating the Old Testament work ethic that a person is responsible if he is physically capable for providing for himself and for his household, rather than looking to the community or to the government to provide for his needs. And then from Bringing in the Sheaves, should have been ready, page 71, he says, I'm sorry, a little before that. Christians ought not to support any policy toward the poor that does not seek to have them occupy the same high plane of useful existence that all of us are to exemplify. Serving the poor is a euphemism for destroying the poor unless it includes with it the intention of seeing the poor begin to serve others. So good.
Wow.
Whereas humanitarian social policy keeps people helplessly dependent, biblical charity seeks to remove them from that status and return them to productive capacity. Biblical charity seeks to put them back to work because biblical charity should never be anything other than a prod to full restoration of the poor to their God-ordained calling. Paul makes it plain, if a man will not work, he shall not eat. Heard that recently. 2 Thessalonians 3:10. A handout does not charity make. So this is kind of a separate subject than where I started on this, but I think it's valuable framing for this mindset. You don't want to put yourself in being entrusted with the provision. You don't want to put yourself in the position to be reliant. You may need to. Like, I love the scene from Cinderella Man, where he was doing everything he could, working all these jobs and going anytime he could down to the docks to do the hard manual labor to provide for his family. It's the Great Depression. And then he ends up making quite a bit of money from his fighting as it goes throughout the movie. And he goes back to the handout, what do you call this? The government assistance office where they're giving money, and he waits in line, goes up to the counter, and he puts a stack of money on the counter because he's here to give it back.
Yeah.
He was not entitled to it. I love that. So there could be a time where you could require it, but the first step should be going to family, telling them you need help, to church community, telling them you need help, and hopefully you have that built up to do so. And then the perspective here, if you've got from R.C. Sproul, again, the man being responsible to provide, do all you can to do that by any means legally, reasonably necessary. And then the bringing in the sheaves is, how much damage do we do to people by just giving them things? Mm-hmm. It's the responsibility of the church to help people physically while also doing so spiritually. The government is when they're just giving out the money, they are hindering the capacity of the people that they're handing it out to. So there should be very serious restraints on that kind of thing. Continuing. We're almost to the end. Borrowing from your parents. I didn't already hit on this, right?
No.
Should I borrow from my parents? You know your parents. We do not. So individual basis, but will there be strings attached to taking money from your parents? And then clearly there's a big difference between, am I going to them in need of money, where it would be a kind of a loan, where, Lord willing, in the future, we have money available to give to kids, loved ones, grandkids, when necessity arises. But if it's for a particular situation, like a home expense or something, or I mean more so would be like an investment they want to make, where it can be just a no interest loan. That's a great thing that Lord willing we'll be able to give out in the future in those situations. But there's a difference between asking and then you should definitely be expecting to pay that back, versus your family wanting to graciously give you gifts. Those are very different things.
Every time Lucy Ray sees me and poo-poo, she just gets like $1 or $2.
Yeah, put it in the fanny pack.
Yeah.
Money!
She loves it. But they basically do the same thing with us, but with bigger dollars. And we say, money, thank you.
Yeah, we have very kind, gracious parents on both sides.
Yes.
Very thankful.
Yes.
But overall, I think this is a core question here, is just, can I make familial decisions for my family? Because it's a new family, remember. You're not attached to your old family any longer, even if you're living with them. Obviously, that makes things complicated. But either whatever the living situation is, even if you're outside the home, but you're being invested in by your parents, can I take the investment and still make familial decisions without parental control or overreach? Yeah, oversight. That's good. So that just needs to be clarified. And I already talked about the retirement and the salesman, so that's the end of my notes.
Got through everything.
That's it for finances. This has been very helpful for me just to be reminded of and consider. So invest your money wisely. We are here to serve the kingdom of God. Whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord, not for man, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. Yeah. So that's what we do each day.
I had one question. I think we addressed this in our last finances episode, which was a long time ago now. So I wanted to just revisit it because I'm thinking specifically about the couple who's getting married, and how they're thinking they're going to manage their finances. Is, who do you think should be in charge of the finances? Both like as, overarching, and then the practical day-to-day actually budgeting or actually paying the bills and being on top of that. Is it husband versus wife? Is it the spender versus saver? It's who's ever better at math. Like, who gets
husband
to be
versus
in charge?
wife.
Yeah.
Right. Going in one of those air cages where all the money blows around and you catch it. Yeah, I love this question. So I don't think that the husband has to assume the regular fiscal responsibility of assessing, calculating, distributing, paying bills, all that kind of thing. I think the husband, as I don't want to keep saying I think, I know the husband as head of household with that responsibility just has to have the fiscal awareness. You have to know where your money's being spent so you can note, we have these subscriptions that we are not utilizing or we don't have the money for currently. Why are we're spending too much on this car insurance? I should look into it. We have this much allotted for the vacation at the end of the year. You just have to be aware so as to not thoughtlessly go into debt, something go wrong. Like, you have that responsibility to maintain the monetary integrity of the household. So you have to be aware, but you don't have to be doing the consistent distribution and calculations. So that is up to whoever's schedule better fits or more enjoys the process, basically, is
Sure.
my perspective.
Yeah, what can be more practical? Because sometimes like a stay-at-home mom might have that more bandwidth in her day during nap times and stuff to manage those sorts of things, where a husband who's working full-time or more outside the home can be that can be just too much on the plate of the husband. But no matter who is doing the tasks of paying the bills or managing the Excel spreadsheet or whatever budgeting apps, husband is responsible either way. So if husband is so hands off that he has no idea what's going on, and then you end up in debt or in financial issues, that's not the wife's ultimate fault. That's the husband's ultimate fault for not
even if
overseeing it.
So if my wife was spending $200 a day on things we did not need, and then I suddenly noticed we had $10,000 of credit card debt months later, but I was not aware that whole time, it's not her fault. It is more my fault than her fault, because there was negligent actions, but it was negligence in general on me by not being aware what's going on within my family. So you just have to have that awareness.
Yeah. Not that wives don't have any responsibility for themselves. That's a foolish thought. But that a husband you don't get to be like Adam and say, "Oh, it's my wife. Nothing to do with this." Like, you have very much to do with it.
That is interesting. What you should certainly have is a combined bank account, because two become one flesh in all ways.
Didn't even address that.
Spiritually, physically, financially. So definitely should have that combined. Interesting. I mentioned this, I think 2 episodes ago, but it could have been before that. The explanation in the Boundaries in Marriage book, where it was very gender neutral. I actually think the example I gave was, they said, the specific example in the book was, if a wife notes that her husband is overspending, she could, for a time, cancel the cards or separate the bank accounts. No, I would say the husband, if he is having conversations with his wife about the spending, the overspending is continuous and it's sinful and unrepentant, then you need to go to the church, have other people involved in the process of correcting it. But in the meantime, the husband certainly has the right, as having final responsibility for the integrity and welfare of the household, to shut down his wife's credit cards and access if she cannot maintain control over that. But I do not believe it goes the other way around, which is a challenging position clearly for the wife, but that's the dependence that's required.
Yeah, wife has to go to her husband and say, "I'm really concerned about this. Like, this seems like a problem. Like, what do you think about this? How can we address this?" And if the husband blows her off, she needs to say, "This really has to be addressed. Like, this isn't an optional thing. Like, we're going to need to seek help from our elders if we can't communicate about this," and like tell him that she's going to talk to the elders.
Yeah, definitely. Wife, clear communication, but she certainly also has the right to, if the husband is being unrepentantly sinful in his spending habits, to go to leadership to address that if he's not listening to you. Yes.
Yeah.
There's just differences in application, like what kind of actual actions you can take.
Yeah.
Yes, which is why also I would say, when you have a wife saying, "My husband's acting ridiculous, but I can't control him," that's much more true than a husband saying, "My wife's acting ridiculous, and what am I supposed to do about it?"
Right.
There's a difference in that one way or the other.
Because they're still an independent person. You still cannot, strap them down and force them to do exactly what you want them to do. But there's one person in that 2-person relationship that has the authority. So.
Yep. Submission and headship. Beautiful design. We make the application complicated. And it is worthy of deep consideration. But clearly we have tried to run far from godly practice of it. So that's one of the intentions of our conversations here.
Yeah, which is why I'm excited to revisit submission and headship. That's on our list, right, for premarital?
That's coming up.
Because it applies to so many of these. That's why it kind of always comes up in these different episodes, because as you're preparing for marriage, especially, you have heard about submission and headship, but you've never had to practice it in a marriage before. And so I really like addressing it in these different categories of like, okay, and then now that you know about finances, what do your roles look like in that?
Yep. I'll do, as a send-off, a look at what's coming up for the rest of the premarital season. So after this finances episode will be porn and sexual sin, how to deal with that. And then a sex-specific episode. and expectations for that, then children, and then divorce. And it'll be lightly on divorce because we have a different episode, a book club coming up with that one. And then mostly the vows you're committing to, going through the traditional vows. Very excited for that one. And then finally the submission and headship preparation will be the end of the premarital series.
Beautiful. And then we're moving on to
theology. So
Nice.
that will be practical theology in the home.
beautiful.
Its function and effect on the family. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We're a few episodes into the premarital season, so tell us what you think about it. If there's anything that you're excited to hear coming up or specific questions about any of those that go into any of those episode categories, let us know now so we can prep for those. Or if there's anything else you want us to cover before we move on to our next season, definitely let us know. Or if you have questions about episodes we already released, we love to hear what you guys are thinking. It really encourages us and helps us to know what you want to hear in the podcast. So you can leave a review or send us a message, and we would love to hear from you guys.
Agreed. Now go and remember, Jesus loves you, so go and sin no more.